Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Muoi, The Legend of a Portrait, a Korean horror film from 2007 that was mostly shot in Vietnam. So a novelist named Yun-hee visits her friend Seo-yeon in Vietnam to research a legendary curse. Now, an early scene in the film exposes our protagonist, Yun-hee, as a backstabber, when it's revealed that she sold out Seo-yeon, who is one of her friends, by exposing and exaggerating her love life when writing her last novel. Now, the problem is that Yun-hee has writer's block and is now under pressure from her editor to come up with something new. So this situation prompts her to visit Vietnam and meet Seo-yeon, the girl who she recently backstabbed, in order to get some juicy info on the legend that this girl apparently knows quite well. So one interesting angle that you'll see early on is that both the viewer and Yun-hee, the main protagonist, are not sure if Seo-yeon is aware that she was backstabbed, because she's living in Vietnam, and Yun-hee's book was published in South Korea. There's a chance she has no idea, right, that this happened. Or maybe she does know. You don't know. And that uncertainty creates a little bit of an anxiety, which I liked. But regardless, there seems to be some mind games that are being played between these ladies, and a little bit of an animosity there between these friends that may have been left over from their younger years. And that dynamic between the two lead characters does add a little bit of complexity and nuance to the movie. You may actually recognize the supporting actress from Whispering Corridors 4, Voice. So it was nice to see her again in this. I don't think anyone else is necessarily recognizable to many Western viewers, though. But her character tells the legend of Muoi little by little as the film moves along, and certain aspects of this legend begin to mirror and parallel the main story of the film, which is pretty cool. And the strongest aspects of this film, I do think, are probably the story and the characters. So it has a pretty good foundation there. Good performances, too. Now, the scares, somewhat derivative at times. So, for example, we get a few, like, unreal ghost visuals, and we get some jumps and fake-out scares, which I don't really like. But some of the scares are surprisingly intense. There's one scene, like, early on in the film. It's rather disturbing. I'm kind of surprised they went that far. There's another act of violence a bit later on that has a similar feel. Now, this film is not like a gory or bloody film by any means, but the implications of the violence that's shown is enough to make the viewer feel uncomfortable. You know, a few other highlights are the short but sweet portrait tunnel sequence, as well as the multi-stage finale. So I really think the scares and the horror elements in this film have enough bite to them to have an impact. They're not, sometimes when you watch a horror film, all the scares are flimsy. I don't think that's the case here. There's some pretty good moments here that keep you involved and are actually kind of memorable to a degree. I also like the way that the flashbacks are shot. You know, they use handheld camera work and have like an old film grain look to them, which is kind of creepy. The Vietnam setting it's definitely adds something new to a Korean horror film, for sure. We get a lot of natural environments. We get the heat, kind of an oppressive heat environment. You get wooden housing, rivers, etc. And there are some pretty shots to enjoy, even as early as the opening sequence. I think overall, Muoi, The Legend of a Portrait, is a good quality Korean horror flick, really from top to bottom. And it flies under the radar. You know what I mean? Very few people talk about this one, but I do think it's worth checking out. There's not a lot to complain about. I don't think it's necessarily an elite horror film due to some of the cliches that are present and stuff like that, but it's certainly worth watching, especially if you haven't seen it and you're a fan of Korean horror. It's easiest to find on DVD, and you can get the DVD pretty cheap nowadays, either on Amazon or eBay. So I say check this one out. I enjoy it. I think this is the first time I've rewatched it in ages, and it held up really nicely. So I'm pretty confident in recommending this one. And as always, we will see you next time.